How many of us have started a diet that suddenly crashed or begun an exercise routine that quickly dropped off? Most of us know the small things we can do to improve our health, but for some people, the struggle to lose weight can feel like an impossible dream. So what are the weight loss options for the staggering number of obese individuals in our country today? In this next segment, we weigh our options for losing weight and finally keeping it off. Next on Life and Living.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Dr. Wasser, nice to meet you.
Hi, Dr. Wasser, nice to meet you.
Dr. Wasser, when a patient comes to see you who's obese or who's simply trying to lose weight, where do you start?
Well, the first thing I want to know is how long they've been obese. Have they tried certain medical attempts to lose weight? But most of the time when they come to me, they're really ready to have surgery. They've been obese for many years, they've tried everything, and they really want to change their life.
What are the indicators that you look for that say, yes, this person is ready for surgery, or no, they're not ready for surgery?
Well, first of all, there are weight requirements by the insurance company. So, for example, you have to have at least a BMI greater than 40, which is usually at least 100 pounds over their ideal body weight. Also, another criteria would be they have to have what's called comorbidities, which would be your diabetes, your hypertension, your sleep apneas, high cholesterol. So
when they're not ready for surgery, how do you advise them? What are the steps you take?
And usually I'll tell them to seek a nutritionist, because I think that's really, they're professionals, they really know how to get patients to have a strict diet, and to try that first then.
Gail, when a patient comes to see you who's feeling really frustrated with their inability to lose weight, where do you start?
Well, I first start talking to them about their lifestyle, their habits, their past experiences, their level of motivation, their potential for exercise. There's a lot of things that we have to figure out first, because weight management is something that's very individualized.
How do you first address and figure out what a patient is doing wrong?
I need to find out what they do on a typical basis, so I ask them, tell me about breakfast, lunch, and dinner, tell me about snacking, about beverages. How are you dealing with Monday through Friday work week versus weekends? How important is it to cook or not cook? How often are you eating out? What things go on during the day that get you off track?
I'm here with Lisa Farmer, who underwent bariatric surgery to lose weight. Lisa, prior to undergoing bariatric surgery, and you did the gastric sleeve, how had you tried to lose weight?
Well, I tried lots of different things. Some of the fad diets, I would try working out. I tried dieting online.
How were you eating prior to making this change?
I was eating fast food on a daily basis. At one point, I calculated monthly how much I spent in fast food, and at 1 month I spent over $600 in fast food.
What was the defining moment for you when you said, everything that I've been trying is not working, and I need to go in a different direction, and I need to consider surgery?
I was 43 at the time. I was looking at middle age and looking at my longevity as far as my life, and I didn't want weight loss to be the one thing that stopped my life. So at that point, I made the decision to have weight loss surgery.
Let's say the patient is ready for surgery. What are their options?
Well, there are 4 options for surgery. The newest option over the last about 5 or 6 years is the sleeve gastrectomy. And what you're doing is you're actually removing about 80% of the stomach. So the stomach is like a thin tube. And it works really 2 ways. One, it's very restrictive in the amount of food one can eat, so they get full extremely quickly. But more importantly, there's a hormone that we produce here called ghrelin, and about 90% of ghrelin is produced there, and you're removing that area. So the patients aren't even that hungry afterwards.
What does ghrelin do?
Ghrelin is your satiety hormone, your hunger hormone. So when it actually rises, that's when you start to get hungry again. But what happens in these patients, it actually drops down to low levels and doesn't rise for a slow period of time. So for a long period of time, they have to actually think about eating.
In order for a patient to have the best outcome, how do you work with them prior to the surgery and then follow up to the surgery?
Well, one important aspect of our program is we have a support group, and we meet twice a month. We highly encourage patients to come there because it's not unlike AA for alcoholics. These patients have an addiction to food in a sense. If they can come to these meetings and get reinforced every time, that certainly helps them a lot. The surgery does work, but the other part of it is they have to really change the way they eat. They have to change their mindset. And if they can do those 2 things, add exercise, they'll do very well.
How did you approach the weight loss surgery in terms of your food and your exercise? What did you do leading up to the surgery?
I knew that it was going to be a lifestyle change. I wanted to be successful. I didn't want to go through surgery and then not be successful. So I was going to the support group twice a month. I hired a personal trainer prior to the surgery to help me because I didn't know what to do, and I just felt like having a personal trainer would help me. And they could keep me on track. I had someone to be accountable to.
How much of this process of a patient losing weight is emotional?
Very much emotional. Emotional eating has been a big problem for many individuals with issues regarding controlling their weight. Sometimes it could be depression, and when you're depressed you may eat too much or you may not eat enough. And when it comes to, not being able to control yourself, a lot of it is just getting in a situation to be more mindful of everything that you do. We often recommend keeping food records just to be aware of that, measuring how hungry you are and asking yourself questions. Is it hunger or is it having a bad day?
I feel like food for me was comfort. And if times were hard, I found myself in the refrigerator, in the cabinets, looking, or at the fast food restaurant, learning how to deal with those emotions and eliminate the food. That's what I learned going to the support groups, how to replace food when I'm feeling certain ways.
How do you replace food now?
I take a walk, I drink water, I might run. Food is good, but not the way that I used to eat it. So when I look at food, I'm looking at the healthy part of food. When I eat my food, that's because I'm hungry and I need to eat to fuel up. In the beginning, I had a plate that was divided into sections, a toddler plate, and with the toddler fork and the toddler spoon, so, and it helps. But again, in the beginning, all those things were very important to me. I needed those tools to be successful. I don't use them as often, but I still eat on the small plate. Holidays and stuff like that, I still carry my plate with me, and my family members, they laugh at me, but they understand because it's important to me.
Describe your approach to fitness after going through the surgery and after working with a trainer.
I do a lot of running. I just love it. It's good for my mind. If I'm running those 3.5 miles from my house through the park, it's an awesome feeling because I do things now that I never dreamt of doing. I ran a 5K. In 34 minutes, my very first one.
Describe that feeling.
It was amazing. I mean, my trainer, she ran with me, but if someone would have said to me a year prior that I would have ran a 5K in 34 minutes, I would have never believed them. I cried as soon as I got past the finish line. I mean, I couldn't even stop. The tears just came down. It was such an accomplishment.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Health Republic Insurance of New Jersey, Bergen Community College, the North Ward Center, Josh S. Weston, Cone Resnick, the Russell Berrie Foundation, and by TD Bank. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.